St. Louis.
She's tall.
And they were there. But he was
the 60s when they were adults.
Maybe it's like 15 months.
They were young, so
There was this 2-year-old who parked in the shade. Kept putting dirt in that Megan stopped the third time. And this 2-year-old got upset and threw the dirt in that bed.
she went to scream.
She pushed the kid down.
I'm not gonna do it, but my golly,
The parents came up and were like, hey, what's that kid's hands on our kid? I go, she told her the situation. She was like, well, our kids don't do that. I'm sorry. She was like, but it's like, it's fine. She's like, I'm leaving anyway.
Can we all stand, please? You bow your heads. I'm going to ask Pastor Bill Honecker to lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we thank you for your mercy and grace, for your love and care in our lives. We ask, Lord, that you would protect our area this evening and all areas where we have storms that are occurring around us. Ask that you would protect each one, that you would give those wisdom that are in the line of these storms, that they would know what to do to stay safe, and just protect them, Lord, in all of their activities, that they might see your hand of mercy and grace and give you praise and glory. We do thank you, Lord, for all that you've done for us today, for the many blessings that we've experienced, for your wisdom and direction in our lives, and pray, Lord, that we would continue to give you the thanks and praise that you so richly deserve. We thank you, Lord, for leaders local, state, and federal that have a multitude of decisions that are constantly having to be made in each of their jurisdictions. And Lord, I ask that you would grant them discernment, that you would guide and direct every step, that they would see your hand, that they would recognize you as the authority and the wisdom that they need, and that they would proclaim you in each of those decisions that they make. Here tonight, Lord, I pray for Mayor Connolly and for this council, and ask that you would bless and encourage them, that you would be with all who are participating tonight, that you would grant them wisdom and direction also. And may we at every step, Lord, see your magnificent hand of mercy and grace and give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Buddy, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
I need a motion to approve the proposed agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second, and everybody voted. Yay. I need another motion to approve the reading of and the minutes of to dispense with the reading of and approve the minutes of the August 1st meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Everybody vote yes. Is there any public comments? Haven't heard none, we'll carry on. Unfinished business, the truck ordinance still work in process. Kay's got a follow-up for you on the fraud protection that the UCBI was offering.
All I have is just a copy of the email I sent to y'all earlier in August. to follow up with what we talked about last month, I had spoke with County Clerk Jennifer Queen, and she talked about the extra ACH or check fraud protection that they don't have on their accounts. Currently, the Bank of Ozarks and the Southern Bus Bank and Trust covers their commercial customers without without charging them an extra fee. The only person that did any other extra fee was Park Sterling. So that was the research I found.
Okay. Under new business, we'll start with the department head reports. So, gentlemen, whichever one of you want to go first.
I'll go first. No, we've been doing a lot of maintenance this month, on the streets and whatever, and everybody knows Kimby Street's been paid, so it really turned that way. They've done a really good job on that. And we've been setting a few meters here and there, and we've got several in the future. Doctors also here and at digital digital place, I tell you, they get made out on another 105,000 square foot out there, so we set fire lines, lasers, whatever that does. There's a lot of building going on this year. And that we could stand big. Things going on. It's gonna get cold weather one day. We got to get cold.
Did the eclipse affect you any?
I had the glasses on. They got any questions? Thank you very much.
Jody?
Well, we got our #1 SPR tank back up and running. All the repairs done on it. And the #2 tank is down. The pump's supposed to be delivered back this week. It's been repaired. And that's just about as far as we can go with it until we get the pump. We can't get it started back up until we get it. I think we're supposed to have a tour of the plant on the 26th.
They never called me back.
Yeah, I got in touch with her by email,
Okay.
and I think they're planning it on the 26th. They wanted to do it this Thursday, but the school said they couldn't get it approved that quick.
Who's going to tour?
It's, I think it's 5th through 8th grade for the Union County School.
How many you're limiting it to?
I think she said there was gonna be like maybe 14 or 15.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Also have that covered up, not the school that I gave you.
And then I've had sent them the whole harmless release to
Yeah.
fill out how many parents in it. That's about it.
Any questions for Jody? There?
Yes. Last month, we had about 120 calls. Of course, all the hype was for the eclipse that happened, but it didn't happen, I guess. We were prepared for more than, I guess, more folks than came, and from what my estimation was. I think there was a lot of daytime, that day travel, but overall, there wasn't any influx in calls. Regarding the new vehicle, it should be produced this month. It should be here hopefully by the next meeting that y'all have. One thing that caught my attention that the council needs to be aware of, I think, is we made the arrest on July 1st, and upon testing sending the drugs of the heroin that we arrested the individual on to the crime lab, it came back and it appears to be the first fentanyl case in Union County that the heroin was laced with fentanyl. And that's the first case we ran upon in Union County. We did individuals out on bond, but upon us, and I think Mr. Barrett there will tell you, it's getting to be, unfortunately, the fentanyl seems to be the thing, the trace drug that they want to put in with the heroin. And that's the first we've seen of that here in Union County as far as we know. But again, we did arrest an individual on that case and he's out on bond. Other than that, everything appears to be pretty normal.
Sam?
Any question for Barrett? Well, John, whichever one wants to go first.
Oh, okay. We had a wonderful opening the 19th at our building. We probably had 150 people there. It was just a real good celebration and wonderful people there, the crowd. The day after, on the day before the eclipse, I sold $3,500 worth of fuel. And the day of the eclipse, we had 55 planes come in. I sold $5,500 worth of fuel. And it was so busy that the mayor called Chris and asked him to come help me. And that was a big help. It was. We were just, my phone was ringing every 4 seconds all day long. But we made it through it. And we finally got completely moved to our new building yesterday and today. So we're there operating now completely out of the new building. It's a great building and really going to work wonderful. It's just absolutely great. We've got to do a few more things to get it, where it needs to be, but it's just going to take time. The heating, the cooling unit on our office end toward the runway is not working. It's either not running or not cooling enough. So I'm calling Denny and the man out to come check it out and see what's going on. We've noticed some of our doors in the hallways and the various rooms are not closing properly. It looks like they're warped. I don't know whether they warped from the heat or the building or what, but they're going to have to come back and adjust them because they're just not closing. There's 4 or 5 of them that need adjusting. Chris turned in his notice Friday. He'll be leaving the 15th. He's been with us 10 years. And he wants to further his aviation career, and he will do well at it. And he has the potential of starting in the $60,000 to $70,000 range, and then within 4 to 5 years being $120,000 to $150,000 range. So Chris has been a real good employee, real strong, and just real dependable, and can't say enough about him. Hate to lose him. But I also don't want to hold him back because he's always dreamed of doing this. He's 34 now, 34. So he's ready to move on and try that. Don't blame him. I've had some people to come in already and interview for the job, and we're working on that. Spoke with Bill Haney this morning, our part-time man, and he doesn't want to work anymore part-time. He's 74 now, and the part-time work would interfere with his retirement. So he's traveling and doing stuff with his family. So we'll be looking not only for a full-time hire, but also a part-time also to train. So it'll be just something we'll work through, and I think we'll find some good. We talked to a real good one, the mayor did this morning, and he looks like maybe one we'll be able to hire. And I want to try to get someone in there by the 15th so that we won't be, having to work so much without, enough help there. It's going to take a while to train a new person. But, any questions? Had 5 jets there over the weekend. They all left yesterday. Had 3 come and go today. So we're still staying real busy. Our jet truck is wonderful. That thing is great. You just pull up to a truck. The first time I used it, the guy asked for 320 gallons, and I thought I put 49 gallons in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and I put 490 gallons in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So it really pumps in a hurry. But I learned a couple of lessons. I can turn our pump off in the truck and he can pump it back in. But we didn't have to do that. He said, that's no problem, they'll just keep it. So it worked out good. It was a bigger sale. So, but the truck's doing great. It's a great asset to have. And we're keeping it in the old city hangar to keep it out of the weather and protect it. There's hardly a day goes by that we use it. We do use it every day. And then also use it as many as 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day when we use it on helicopters and jets. And I've had probably 15 to 20 calls today about people in South Florida wanting to come up to get away from the hurricanes. So we'll probably have a bunch of folks come in this Thursday and Friday from South Florida. So.
Does Airmaid still pump their own Air meds, do they still?
They do.
Yeah, they,
We decided to let them continue as they were doing with the tank
yeah.
and not really get involved in our fuel truck. We think that's probably the better way to go. And they still buy.
Do you keep any numbers out there as far as incoming flights?
We used to do that. I tell you who monitors that quite regularly, very well, is Atlanta FAA. They operate our airspace. The day of the eclipse, they called me at 10:30 that morning, and we had already gotten 30 planes in, and he let me know that they had closed Heaven's Landing because it got full. Andrews Murphy had 110 planes go in to Andrews Murphy. And he said, do you want to close and issue a NOTAM? I said, why are you asking me that? And he said, you got 40 more planes coming. I said, no, let them come on. I've got them landing both directions. But we were able to make it and, get all the planes in, so we were safe, didn't have any problems. So. But Atlanta FAA office, they track our in and out. They sure do. We actually average right now, I think, around 45,000 landings and takeoffs per year out there. That's our category, and then we're based on category. I believe we're D airspace right now, D or C, but they have like A, B, C, D, different airspaces. So I think we're a D. Had the crew come out and look at our AWOS about our grounding issues. I believe that was last Tuesday.
Yeah, well, Tuesday's a week ago.
Tuesday a week ago, right.
Yeah, I called about it today, and we still, DOT hadn't got a quote from Bradbury yet. So he was supposed to follow up today on that. That's something that's all their expense. Yeah. We also, we've got to have a vehicle, because John and whomever's going to be working with John will still have to go across when people want out gas, to pump out gas. So I contacted the commissioner's office. Actually, I talked to Larry Garrett to find out about a golf cart. And Larry was telling me that they lease all their golf carts, and they have a good lease period. They change them out every 3 years, and I asked him, what the lease price was, and he says, "Are you planning on trying to lease one or buy one?" I said, "Well, I want to get one as cheap as I can." But he said, "Well, the company we deal with, they won't lease just one, He said, "But maybe the county could lease one to you." So I've got him looking for one that will have a back seat on it instead of just an area for golf clubs to go. And Larry will get back to me this week on that with some numbers for me to give to you guys, but it'll be a gas-powered golf cart, so they'll be able to use that going back and forth and save them a lot of time.
We looked at typical a customer pulls in the fuel tank, fueling area at Avgas. We drive over, fuel them up, take their credit card, drive back, run their credit card through, drive back, have them sign it, and then drive back. So we're crossing the runway 4 times for one customer, and we deal with 15, 20 customers a day. So I talked to Dave Perry today. They can send us a second credit card machine.
I thought we was going to do that.
They originally didn't want to do it, and I finally convinced him today. They're calling me tomorrow, and they're going to send us the paperwork on it, and they can have us one here in a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have UCBI's set up?
That never would work out. They tried and tried. Their system would not configure and work. The only way we could have used their equipment would have been to
run a register tab with oil and gas and tie-down fee and all the different categories, and then put one lump sum into their credit card. It would only handle like one lump sum.
That won't work.
Right, it would break it down, and they couldn't come up with a program, so we abandoned that.
Okay.
Couldn't do it.
We don't have an older vehicle, that old burgundy Chevrolet truck, is it in use here?
We have a truck out there.
I got a pickup truck, but it's usually haul garbage.
We have a courtesy car.
We have a
too.
courtesy car.
But it would be so much more convenient with a little golf cart than it would using
I did it for you on a rainy day though, you know.
Right, yeah. The courtesy car is we have been using it, but there's a lot of times it's gone. Yeah, so if it's out.
That was another question I was gonna ask you on the busy day, the eclipse day or whatever, on a busy day, how is your car rental? Or you have a lot of requests for?
We had 15 cars from the Enterprise that day, which they brought them in Friday. So we had them there all weekend.
Okay.
I had 9 there this morning for this past weekend.
So they are working with us?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're still not getting any commissary on it, we should be, but they're just doing it the same way we've always done it. But what we did on the Thursday before the eclipse, we put the car in the shop, said it needed some work, and we didn't want it back till after the eclipse. And we didn't want to fool with it during the eclipse, it would have been a headache. So it did need some work, so it had a bearing bad in it, and we had that fixed. We didn't want to have to deal with that either during the eclipse, trying to keep that courtesy car available. We had probably 200, 250 people out there during the eclipse. It was a lot of fun.
Did they all have eyewear?
They did. I found a bunch of them on the ground afterwards. I'm keeping them for next time. We initially thought about keeping the public out, but we saw that it wasn't going to be a problem, so we opened all the gates up. We had both buildings open, and we had a good time. And a lot of, we needed to have them both open so people could get in and out of the bathrooms. And believe it or not, nobody left a mess over there. So that was in either building. So we drug all the chairs out of the Civil Air Patrol office so people could, have a place to sit and get in out of the shade next to the building and all. It was fun. We had a cloud, we couldn't see it. I was defueling an avgas truck when it happened. I had to get a flashlight out of the truck, the truck driver and I, to see the gauge to check the specific gravity when the eclipse happened. And then Chris was down at the Jet A truck fueling up the jet truck. And he couldn't see the gauge because it got dark. So that was our experience of the eclipse.
Okay, Darren, I guess you're it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have had a really good month. I think the eclipse was kind of the kickoff to that. Downtown was packed. We had people everywhere. We actually got to see the eclipse. The cloud.
Yeah, we didn't.
It moved
had rain cloud.
just in time for us to see it.
Yeah.
In fact, I wish I've got a photograph that a friend of mine did of the eclipse, and it's pretty awesome to know it was shot from our square. We have a DDA board meeting next Tuesday. That's always open and free for people to come to. It's from 12 to 1 here at City Hall. I had a merchants meeting. In the past, they've not been so well attended. They're typically at 8 or 8:30 in the morning, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So we did a 2-hour meeting on the 31st. We had, Wanda, would you say about 40-something people there, roughly? We had speakers from the chamber. We had an ambassador speak, as well as she was also a merchant. We had Judy from the DDA. We had Joanne from the Historical Society. And I had gotten in contact with a lady by the name of Molly, who works for UGA Small Business Administration. She's based out of Gainesville and has recently taken over this territory. So it was kind of an introduction for her. They offer free services to merchants to help them with everything from advertising to lending products. They're a good resource, so she got her name and business card out there. Over the course of 2 hours, I would say we talked about parking, sidewalks, and crosswalks quite a few times. Every merchant seems to be very pleased with the growth that we're having. Their numbers are up over the last year. We're seeing more consistently our streets are filled with people, but they are concerned about parking, which the mayor and I discussed this morning will always be an issue. The sidewalks, we've got some problem areas, which I pointed out, like next to the trophy shop. When cars park there, it forces people out into the street. But overall, people were very, I would say, happy with the direction the city's going. We've had a lot of inquiries from other businesses about opening up retail space. It's just a matter of finding the space for them. So, like I said, they were happy, and I think that's a good thing. Heritage Festival was this last weekend. I think, Miss Betty, you worked, didn't you? Yeah,
Late Saturday.
it was crazy busy,
It was fun.
like everywhere. I think a lot of people came up for the eclipse that hadn't been up here before, and I think that's added to the number of people that come up. I think we'll get a lot of repeats out of that.
The ones I talked to made some money too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, one of our downtown merchants, Michael Lees, reported that they had set a new record for dinners served in a single evening at 302 dinners served between 6 and closing. That also set a new record for them for the day. They've been in business for 13 years, and this past Saturday they made the most that they have ever made. So they are tickled to death to be here. Sunflowers on the Square, she sent me a message the other day about how well she did. I talked to the boys at Blue Ridge Cotton Company, they knocked it out of the park. I don't know of any merchant that didn't, to be honest.
How about their neighbor?
I talked with Candace this morning. She did really well, very happy. And you know, these are second locations for them. And in some cases, their second locations are outperforming the originals, which is pretty cool considering they're in Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
So it was a good weekend. Kay and I had pulled, or actually Kay pulled some numbers for me from our merchants meeting. And we looked at, for the last 4 years, our hotel motel tax revenue has gone up by what, 30% in the
I
last?
didn't do the percentage, but yeah, it's increased.
It's increased consistently year over year. And then I got Tracy to pull the number of business licenses issued in the last 4 years, and it looks as though we're adding about 1 business per month over the last 4 years. It's actually 11 per year. But that's a good number. You know, we're showing growth. Downtown events for September, actually left off a couple. We've got a movie night. We're still working on the date on that. We've got the Blairsville Cruisers on the 9th.
Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. Is it this Saturday? Oh, this Saturday is the 9th, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow, okay. All right, so yeah. So the last thing and the best thing I think is we've got an update on the Harrelson property. I've been telling y'all that I would tell you stuff as soon as I could, and I've been given the go-ahead. I'm gonna pass these around. I've actually got a poster over here, but this is the concept for the lot across from Foodland. It's a multi-story building. From the front, it will appear to be 2 stories. From the parking lot behind it, it will be a 3-story structure. 2 floors are retail, 1 floor residential. We are working with the University of Georgia to come up with floor plans so that we can figure out the actual cost of the structure. The guy that's building the building has given us pretty much free rein to come up with concepts and ideas, and has been very flexible thus far. The apartments we're hoping will be somewhere between the 600, 800 square foot range. We're trying to target the market that is not the rich retiree, but people who really enjoy living downtown. It'll be good for our businesses overall because they will have a captive audience downtown. So we're very excited about that. The dimensions of the building roughly are 85 feet long by 50 feet wide. And we're looking at a 15-foot 20-foot setback from the food land side.
Yeah.
And then 15 foot all around. We don't anticipate including parking spaces for this building. Instead, they will allow what we're now calling city parking, so that we can maximize that to its fullest potential and not have a, well, he's in my space kind of issue to deal with all the time. So we don't have a start date on this. Like I said, we're waiting on floor plans from the UGA, and that will dictate a lot of timing. So that's the Harrelson property. This one is the old dance school across from Copeland's.
Can I ask you
Yes, sir.
on that one?
Yeah.
You keep saying we are building.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming now this is gonna be sold, this property is gonna be sold, right?
Yes, sir.
The city is not building.
No.
DDA is not building.
No.
We are working with
You
an
can
individual.
divulge who's furnishing the money on this.
Okay, it's okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is Steve Cochran. He owned quite a few Zaxby's, and rather than invest that money somewhere else, he's decided to invest it in our downtown. He likes the direction the city's going, he wants to be a part of it. And when I say we, it's only because it's a collaborative approach.
Right.
You know, we could have wound up with somebody who bought the property and told us to take a hike.
Right.
But Steve is just the opposite. He's really wanting our input so that it's a success not only for the city, but for himself.
That's good.
So we got very lucky in that regard. But you know, granted, it's early yet, but it won't be long before we see this building up and occupied.
We'll be selling chicken sandwiches out there with it.
Are we gonna take the old ramp out?
I don't know that we're allowed to.
The what?
The old ramp.
Ramp.
DOT ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DOT puts some conditions
No,
on it.
that ramp will always be there.
We might be able to incorporate it into something else, but
It has to be used
for
for
the public good.
public access.
I mean, the pavement, asphalt itself can't be
Pavement has to
removed?
stay there. Can't take that pavement up at all.
Yeah, I could see it being used for overflow parking or something along those lines.
And that's where we need to entertain some more parking. Or-
Yeah, just one way if you're coming, you know, from the new courthouse to where you can only turn in that way, you know, and then exit
People
through
go
the
down there
parking.
and park already.
They do,
Yeah.
they do, especially if they're
Usually
cooks.
people are going to Cook's Restaurant.
Yeah.
And of course, they park across the road there in the grass too.
Yeah, and we saw that with the eclipse, there were people parked
Yeah.
on both sides of the new.
Oh, we had all this was covered up back here.
We need to make a route from the, go down and come out on the other ramp, don't we? It
What
worked.
other ramp?
She's talking about connecting the old ramp, so once they go down, they can't really get back up.
No, we can't
Can't
do
do
that.
that either.
Well, we can't make any curb cuts.
She may have been talking about the entrance they made down there.
It'd be easier to get out.
But we don't want to mess up a lot down there with
No.
Yeah,
possible lot.
this is true. All right, so this is the old dance school building. This one will be completed by the end of the year. We've already started meeting with folks to gauge their interest on renting it. That's about 4,000 plus square feet of retail space. We're currently in negotiations with somebody to take over the entire building. And in lieu of that, we'll rent it out as individual shops. So you have as many as 4 businesses, or it could be one business, or a combination thereof. That is one of, well, there's the dance
Rich
school,
Wakefield.
merchant.
Across the way over there.
Yeah. So to make this a little easier, this is and I'll leave this guy with y'all. This is Merchant's Walk. So here you have Copeland's. Here's the dance school building that I just passed around. Once this one's completed, he's going to start on the next building. This one is right at 4,000 square feet, single-story retail. This one is 8,000 square feet, 2 floors, bottom floor retail, top floor residential. And then once all those are completed, then we will do the resurfacing of the parking lot and green space and all that kind of stuff.
Is anyone entertaining shops?
Such as,
A variety of shops, you know, to
oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
people
Yeah, that's
to
kind of
mingle
my
and shop and
Yeah, yeah.
trinkets.
So what I've been doing, and I've had a few people in kind of on back burner status for a while, and now that all this stuff is starting to fall into place, I've reached out to them again. So I have several businesses that are looking to relocate and or open an additional retail space in downtown. My biggest concern was Chris getting his building done at the same time this one got done, and then it was a toss-up between where they went. But it looks like it's going to time out just right. He's going to get the dance school building done first, and by that time, this one should be done well after that one's already been populated. And then after that one's been populated, the other two will start. So for Chris, it's a step-by-step approach until he gets that whole space worked out. And that's why I've been kind of, not lying, but have bringing up the sidewalk issue, because this is a huge, huge draw. You know, this is its own little ecosphere or business community right there. There'll be a lot of shops in there, a lot of retail. So if we can connect it to the square, and it's already starting to happen naturally anyway. People are drawn down to Copeland's. And
Well, you know, I've noticed over here,
yes, sir.
that may used to be the sidewalk, but people out there now just using it as a porch or,
Yeah, it's very narrow for a sidewalk.
yeah.
Even, yeah. So
It's easy to put people out in the street over there.
yeah, and it may be that when we get to that point that
I don't know who owns it, but
yeah, I honestly don't know who owns. I'm sure some of it
Which
is.
buildings?
Exactly. It could be like the law office up here. They own part of the sidewalk and have an easement.
No, that's public property.
All owned by the
Public
city.
property, yeah.
Okay.
The same people that owns the old theater still own it, the
The
Labosco.
Boscos, yeah.
And of course, below
Duckworth.
the theater, Duckworth owns those buildings.
Mhm.
And I think what Tony's referring to, some of those merchants displaced some of their
Oh, yeah.
wares out there.
that,
It's never impeded any foot traffic.
I have seen people, a couple of people got the chair out there, the
Yeah.
old Walmart chair sitting out there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, you take the beach store people, they sit out front of the building
Every single
all
day.
the time.
Yeah.
That obstructs walking.
Yeah.
Well, you don't ever have anybody complaining that most of the people
Yeah.
They're
are
still
going
ready
into
to
their
walk in
shops.
front of them.
Yeah.
They're still ready to walk in front of them when they're sitting out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that's going to have to be addressed in time. I mean, every city.
Well, the width of it is what it is, and that's all it's going to be.
Well,
You can't extend the more width out into the road.
Well, I'm not suggesting you extend it to the road, but you could also give up parking for wider sidewalks. You know, that's always an option too. The current sidewalks that are there are very narrow by today's standards.
Sure.
I don't know if it's because we as
None
humans
of them
were
was
wider.
built to DOT standard is a 5-foot sidewalk.
Yeah.
None of them were built that way.
Yeah, and that's cool. I'm just saying, you know, we're getting bigger and
Maybe if we
busier.
get enough traffic going through there, they'll move.
Yeah. But no, it's things are looking up. I've calculated between this building and the new ones going up over there, we will have over 14,000 square feet of retail space, additional space, and over 8,000 square feet of residential space by the time it's all said and done. So that's a big thing to the city in terms of business licenses, tap fees, sales tax, and all that other stuff that comes with it. So I'll keep you posted as we learn stuff or if we sign on somebody for new business, but that's all I got.
Okay, you said a mouthful.
I did.
Thank you, Darren. All right, at this time, I'm going to call a public hearing on the first reading of an alcohol ordinance amendment. At this time, the public hearing is open.
Can we discuss this?
Pardon?
Can we discuss this?
Yes, after the public hearing, then I'll give you guys opportunity to discuss it. Nobody got any questions? Having heard none, I'll close the public hearing. And now I'll address the council for discussion. You've each got a copy of the ordinance amendments. Okay, bud.
Don't we have some other work to do on the sign ordinance and process?
On the sign ordinance?
I mean, on the alcohol ordinance?
This is the only thing that I know of. I think that these amendments here may be covering what you're talking about.
No, we were talking about trying to make it match the county's changes.
This is where these amendments
Is
come in.
that the only thing there is?
Huh? That's the only thing that I know of. Do you know of anything else, Kathy?
The county is going for their second reading of their ordinance, for their public hearing and second reading on Thursday. And so as far as, I haven't gotten a copy of their final ordinance until after that second reading. So I won't know if there's anything else besides these 3 sections or what else they've changed until after they've had their second reading.
Do they have a provision for outdoor events?
Don't know.
That'll be one thing to look for.
They do have a provision for outdoor events because during the eclipse, the horse arena, the people at the horse arena leased the horse arena out for an outdoor event, which the county had to approve because they had alcohol serving.
Why wouldn't we do that as well? If we're gonna try to mirror what the county's doing.
Well, I don't know what their ordinance says to that.
So I'm getting ahead of myself, but I guess my question is, why are we reading this first reading when we don't even know what the county's?
This is just covering where we are today on some stuff that we need to address in regards to some signage that's being displayed in the city right now.
Can I ask another question that might get us off track? Did we allow alcohol and cups at this music thing up here on the square a couple weeks ago?
It was allowed. The police department wanted to try something, and Barry, you want to explain to them?
I think the issue, and Darren can also, maybe he knows a little bit about it, it was addressed during the, correct me if I'm right, was it a chamber meeting or a DDA meeting?
It was the county development meeting.
And it was addressed about people at the concert. I guess the issue was brought up about having an open container, okay? And it was brought to my attention, and I talked to Darren and I talked to Jim. Also, Commissioner Paris had contacted, I guess, us too, involved in that. And the decision, and I talked to these to Jim and Darren about it before, and I did go and address it with business owners on the square where the immediate concert was happening.
I hear you, I hear what you're saying, but.
As regard, and let me tell you what's told. I understand what you're saying, and I'll be more glad to answer those questions too. I understand, because there is an ordinance in place. And I think maybe Mr. Barrett there can address that when we need to. Our ordinance on alcohol and open container is pretty broad, and I'll let him discuss that. And it's probably something we need to all look at.
Okay.
But the decision was made, and we had personnel there. I was there off duty. I discussed it with the business owners before we ever had the concert the day before. I went up and met with them all. Actually, I was off in the afternoon. Darren was up there. I met with them all because the question was, could people have a drink while they were watching the concert? I addressed it with them. The issue was there would be no bottles, cans, anything to that effect. If we saw it, we would address it. I won't lie to you, I talked to feelers of people who I knew would be there who were responsible, and none of those were drinking, but I addressed it with them on what we were going to do and try it, see if it worked. There wasn't any, as far as it had to be a cup, there couldn't be any glass, no kind of can, nothing marked, anything like that. Anybody got out of hand, we would deal with it at that point. And that's basically what happened. We didn't have any issues whatsoever. I was there as a spectator with my family, and folks had a good time, and I never seen anything get out of hand. I will stress that as a spectator. And since then, I would like to say, and I did say it when I stood up, it seemed to be one of the most successful outdoor venue concerts we've ever had in town.
I guess, I agree with what you're saying all the way through, but my concern would be, first of all, that's public property up there where they were drinking. That's city property up there. Okay? And next of all, if you had, say, next Saturday night, you had a couple of boys sitting on their tailgate up there with some alcohol in their cup, what are you going to do?
I guess.
Well, that's what, we need to, can we put that on the agenda for next meeting and
We can.
address that, issue for special events and also for restaurants that have outdoor seating?
We probably need to, somewhere.
Restaurants who have outdoor seating, it's, well, just like Copeland's over here, they can serve outdoors because their property,
that's their property.
their patio is part of their property.
Oh, they can?
Yeah, they can serve. But up here, like Tag and Life, they don't sell, but of course, the wine shop, people buy wine and go up there and have their wine, and I'm sure people take beer in there too. But that would be public property, and that's when what we need to address on what you're talking about, Buddy, as far as a special event, because the county's property is public property also for everybody. The only difference is the county leases that arena to the Saddle Club. So
that falls under their special events?
That changes. That changes changes it in respect as far as it being total public property. Then, if the Saddle Club's got the horse arena leased.
Right, and you might want to be, that may make it worse rather than better, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It just seemed like to me we violated the heck out of our own ordinance that evening, and that.
Well, and I didn't see anybody intoxicated.
I know there would probably be a problem at all.
No, there was.
Yeah. But,
Well, what you asked Bear, some good old boy was sitting up there on the square drinking out of a solo
being haters out.
And being haters said, well, without probable cause,
But I think it'd be off discretion issue if I'm correct, but you know, I mean, every case is on a case by case basis. I mean, I'm not, you know, I can't say that we would go up there and, I understand what you're saying too. I certainly do, and it's something we probably all need to sit down and address on how we want to handle it.
So by the next meeting, we'll know what the county has.
yeah.
We can,
I think we need to talk about it later at some point and get it nailed down to protect us in case the general public don't start getting on the case, you know?
Well, I'll say this, there were more local people at that concert than I've ever seen it for that night.
Oh, it was good, and they're good entertainers too.
The only thing in paragraph on page 10, the last clause, and must be in conformance with community standards, is very vague. And from a lawyer's standpoint, that makes my stomach go curly. Okay,
that's on this one.
on page 10.
And that is in the county's ordinance, that is exactly how it's.
That's how it is going to be if they pass it Thursday. It's just from a lawyer's standpoint, that's as broad as plan of salvation that I talk about every time I go to a Gideon's meeting. Everybody can get there if you want to. So, you know, what is the community standards? You go to Harry First Baptist, you get one thing, and you go somewhere else, you get another. And so that's something that this body is going to have to worry about. Everything else in there, you know, I as a lawyer, I can defend everything else easy. This one clause must be in conformity with community standards. The only thing I'm worried about is fighting with the judge about that.
Is this gonna make us have to go back and have people change their signs?
No, I don't think so. Because I think y'all got a real tight thing here because of what you've got. You know, some of the signs here don't have the fluorescence, they don't have this, they don't have that. They're 4x4 and all that sort of thing. And so you don't have any problems with it. I'm just talking about to enforce this.
Yeah, I understand.
You got that out of Tony, how do you enforce it? And that was the only thing that caused me any concern about wandering into court to get an injunction to enforce that. And I don't know what, it depends on what judge you get. You know, he may be from Atlanta for all I know. Because they may all recuse themselves, because all three of them are going to have to run up here. And so somebody from Atlanta may come up here and say, what is the community standards? And then you have to come and say what it is. And so that's my only concern. You asked the question, Tony, so I'm not giving you the answer that I'm going to have to give you if you ask me again.
Okay, did you get all that down for us to address?
We haven't talked about all of that. She gave me a case, and I read through the case, and wonderful reading. She'd be a great lawyer if she wants to quit and come up and work with me. I'm ready for her to come.
But I may, if I ever need to, I'll let you know.
Are we supposed to know what this is changing? Because
What it would be doing, right now our ordinance has reserved for those three sections, and it would be adding those to limit what license holders can put on their signs regarding the sale of alcohol. So right now it's just saying that the county has it, at least in their previous ordinance. Ours said reserved, so we would be just taking exactly the way the
We're just
county
adding
is
this
and
to
adding
ours.
it to
We didn't
ours.
have anything in ours.
Correct.
okay, so this is adding.
Yeah.
Correct.
AB and the next one, AN, all say reserved now.
And as soon as theirs is completed, I can get a copy of it and start going through it word for word with ours, and I'll make notes and then defer it to David to also look at.
Yeah, we said we were gonna do that a few months ago.
Well, they've still
There
been
was some
working.
other issue, but I don't even remember what it was.
They've still been working on it. They've been working. I went to one of their meetings back in May or June, and so it's taken them this long to get it all
Seemed like it was
completed.
fees, did we ever address that?
We did, and we finalized that.
That was on a different, fees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we've had our first reading on these two amendments. that'll give David some time to read through that court case and see if we can legally do this because of the wording. The next item has to do with our FY 2018 DOT contract over navigation easements and land acquisitions and obstruction removal at the airport on runway 8 and 26. You've all got a copy of this proposed contract. The city's portion of this will be $41,833. This contract, there won't be a contract until about March of this coming year. We had to go ahead and commit by letter that we wanted to apply for these funds, and they're giving us what our portion will be when this contract is let.
You need a motion?
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion that we go with it.
Second.
Motion made, second. Everybody voted yes? Everybody voted yes. Okay, the next item here is health insurance renewal. And I'm gonna let Ms. Kay explain this because...
And I'm gonna keep it simple.
I don't blame
Just for Mr. Tony. Okay, I received an increase in our premiums for our health insurance for Blue Cross Blue Shield from GMA in August. It was gonna be a 13% increase. Y'all have the numbers that I sent to you, what that total was gonna be for next year's budget. And trying to find out if there was any alternative plans, GMA sent me a whole list of alternatives that ranged from increasing the employees' deductibles to decreasing our co-pays, meaning we would have to pay more out of pocket. There was one that struck me as very similar to what we already have. That's the POS plan that I showed y'all. I have contacted a local agent here just to find out exactly what the POS was, to confirm what I thought it was. And basically it's a mix between a PPO plan and an HMO plan. They say that you are supposed to pick a primary care physician, although in the schedule of benefits it says you don't have to. It does not require referrals. Our deductible would stay exactly the same, as well as all of our co-pays, but it is going to be about a $10,000 decrease to the city's budget for next year if we decide to go with this. I have asked the employees to please check their doctors to make sure that they took the POS as well as the PPO. Not one employee's come back to me that says, no, my doctor's not on the plan. I sent out an email to other city clerks asking, do you have POSs? 5 of them wrote back. All of them had very good things to say, nothing negative about the plan itself. So what we basically need is to move forward with this. We just need a motion and a second to approve changing our current plan from a PPO to a POS. We're still staying with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Still a $500 deductible, which is what we currently have. It's just, I felt like I needed to at least give y'all an alternative rather than having that huge increase.
He's done some good work here, and it's gonna save the city $10,000. It's also gonna save employees.
Yes.
Well,
Insurance for their spouse.
it's the first time that we've ever had anybody to dig into it like Kay did, to see what our alternatives was before when we've had an increase It's just that we just went with the increase and went with whatever plan that was given and didn't dig into it, investigating. Kate took it the next step and did that, and my hand's off to her. She did a great job on this, and it's kind of hard to believe, to tell you the truth, that it could be that much difference, but it is. So, got a question?
Not a question, it's a comment. I'm assuming that a different carrier is out of the question.
GMA only works with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, I could go to other brokers out there to check to see what else, you know, what other, but I was just trying to stick, because we've worked with GMA, their customer service is phenomenal if we have problems, but I can try.
You're not gonna get anywhere wasting your time going to the open market like that, I promise you.
No, let's be a waste.
No,
I'll say we go with what Kay's got. She had Scott Carter look at it, he didn't offer to quote it, so that should tell you something.
If they'll pay my health insurance, I'll quit billing.
Yeah, okay, the question's answered.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we go. You need a motion?
Motion?
I'll make it.
Second it.
And the second made, and everybody voted yay.
So this won't affect employees at all, other than maybe possibly picking a doctor?
It shouldn't even affect them picking the doctor. I'm not gonna promise 100%, but with all the research I've done and with the information I've been given, it should not, the employees should not see any difference, other than those who have been with coverage seeing a reduction in their paycheck.
And we didn't have an employee whose doctors were not on this plan.
I had probably 7 to 8 employees that did get back to me. I sent a message out to all the department heads that says, please have your employees either get with me or this is how you check it. And not one came back and said that their doctor was not on the plan. And the ones that I checked for employees, every single one of them was on the POS.
Carry on.
Good work, Dave.
We got her done, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, Tony Dyer asked me a question at the grand opening of the new terminal about a person that he remembered having a lot to do with the airport in his first being born back in 1962. He mentioned the name of Jack Tarpley. And of course,
Who mentioned this to you?
you did.
I knew Jack pretty well, but I don't know, maybe we got something confused there, but.
No, we were talking about the airport. You asked me if Tarpley didn't have something to do about getting the federal money to get it started out there.
Somebody else, Mayor, with me. I'd like to say I'm probably slipping, but not that much. Jack Tarpley, I mean, I hadn't thought about Jack in 40 years. Used to be right over there. The only thing I remember about him is his desk stayed so neat.
Yeah.
He didn't do nothing.
Well, anyhow, Jack Tarpley,
Anyway, let's go ahead.
You the one
He,
started this, man?
Hmm?
And you the one started this?
So I just denied it, okay?
No, I heard you.
actually, Jack Tarpley had everything to do with the, back then when that was a grass field. And it started in 1962.
I was really,
His
there. He was active.
Yeah, his granddaughter married Charles Hill, Jay Lance's daughter, Jackie. And Charles and Jackie were the first two husband and wife to get a pilot's license and take off and land from that field. Right now, that field is called the Robert E. Caldwell Field. That come about in me the video of it when she wanted her daddy's name to be placed out there, and I forget what year it was, but Robert Caldwell could care less about an airport. Former Mayor Allison dedicated that airfield by way of council to Robert Caldwell. So when did we have to put that sign up? John, it's been since you started, about 5 or 6 years ago?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Robbie come to me raising sandal, and we even got a picture of him out there too.
Right.
So what I'm proposing to do is we rename that airfield Jack Tarpley and Charles Hill Airfield.
And Robbie up here?
Huh?
Robbie.
Do we have to, are we taking Robert's name off of it?
Yes.
Why?
He didn't want nothing to do with that airfield.
Yeah, but why are we taking the name off? He's dead and gone. You can't talk.
Well, this is my proposal now. You have the right to undo what another council did at one time.
Does Robbie not care?
Oh, I'm sure she'd pitch fit.
Mayor, personally, I'm just one, but I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, it's one thing, I wasn't here when Mr. Robert it was named for.
I was on the council with Robert.
Okay, but it's not that, I just don't see a reason to change it. That's my opinion.
Well,
And
in the discussion then.
I mean, no, we get others here to discuss.
Oh, dear, man. Oh, dear.
I think we need to leave it as it is.
I really want to get that straight though as to why it was brought up.
He brought it up, it was his.
I want to know who, and it wasn't me, Mayor, okay? I haven't brought up changing the airport terminal or the airfield or the airport itself.
Well,
but if there's a reason we need to do it, I'll listen.
there's no reason.
Okay.
It was just brought up at the grand opening, and I'll just let it go at that.
For future references on my part, it always needs to be the Blairsville Municipal Airport.
Well, that's
The way it should stay.
that's the way it'll always stay. All right. Under occupational tax certificate, we've got one, and it's a business name change. Harry Norman Realtors has bought Rogers, what is that, Blairsville Real Estate, and now it's Harry Norman's. That's at 63 Murphy Highway. David Alston, corporate officer. It's the only application for a tax certificate.
I'll make the motion, we approve it.
Motion made
I second.
and seconded. Everybody voted yes. One undersigned permit. Ingalls Markets, 207B Highway 515. Chad Priest is the applicant. They're the sign company out on the gas island there. Ingalls, that band at the top of their awning is just has no lettering on it. They're proposing to put their gas prices across that band, and also on the very end that faces 515, put their gas prices, on there, so there's nothing wrong.
They're not adding anything, they're just putting a sign on it.
They're just putting a sign on that,
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
everybody voted yes. Well, that was easy enough. I'll take another motion now.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.